Most people assume it's a major health crisis that lands seniors in nursing homes, like a bad fall, a heart attack, or memory loss. But what if I told you that's rarely the real reason? What actually sends many older adults out of their homes is something much smaller. Something almost invisible. Until it's not. It starts with little shifts, barely noticeable at first. A hesitation here. A skipped routine there. And before anyone realizes what's happening, the decision is made, not by choice, but by circumstance. But here's the twist. These hidden causes are not only preventable. They're fixable. In fact, the difference between staying in your home and ending up somewhere you never wanted to be could come down to what you do in the next few minutes. If you care about aging well, living on your own terms, and protecting your independence, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what we're about to reveal might just change everything. Norbert Clay never imagined he'd end up needing help. At 78, he still had that sparkle in his eye. A retired handyman known in his small town for fixing squeaky porch doors and telling stories that made kids laugh and grown men listen. His neighbors loved him, especially the way he could patch up a leaky pipe and follow it with a tale about the time he fixed a tractor with a shoelace and a spoon. Everyone thought of Norbert as the guy who always kept going. But behind the stories and strong handshake, Norbert was starting to fade, not in mind, but in the parts no one talks about. He wasn't sick. He didn't fall. He wasn't too old. It began with simple things. He started putting off small tasks, changing a ceiling light bulb, trimming the hedge, walking up to the shed. He told himself he'd do it tomorrow, but tomorrow kept moving. Bending down started to feel more like a challenge than a reflex. His steps slowed, not because he couldn't move fast, but because he stopped trusting his balance. A rug in the hallway suddenly felt risky. He didn't tell anyone. After all, he could still drive, still think clearly, still cook his famous chili. But little by little, his world shrank. He stopped attending Sunday breakfast with the guys. Skipped church once. Then twice. He didn't want to risk needing the bathroom in a rush. He kept these things to himself, like so many do, convincing himself it was just part of getting older. Then one day, his niece dropped by and found him sitting alone in the dark, trying to screw in a light bulb with shaky hands, the old stool wobbling beneath him. That's when the conversations began, the ones no senior ever wants to have. Norbert didn't lose his independence in a single day. It wasn't a dramatic fall or diagnosis. It was a quiet drift. A slow, steady erosion of confidence, strength, and connection. And it all could have been prevented, if someone had noticed sooner, or if he had known what to look for. Norbert's story is more than a story. It's a mirror. Because the truth is, many older adults end up where Norbert was headed, not because they're helpless, but because they ignore the small signs that lead them there. So today, we're following Norbert's journey, not to dwell on what went wrong, but to reveal the 3 subtle traps that often push seniors toward nursing homes without them realizing it. And more importantly, we'll talk about what you can do, right now, to make sure you don't end up in the same place. Reason 1. Losing the battle with the bathroom. Norbert Clay had always been the kind of man who prided himself on being in control. He was the one who fixed the furnace during a snowstorm, who never needed help changing a flat tire. So when the urgency to use the bathroom started creeping into his days, he didn't talk about it. At first, it seemed harmless. A quick shuffle to the toilet after morning coffee. Nothing serious. But the rushes got closer together. Then they became unpredictable. He stopped drinking water before his weekly handyman jobs, thinking that would solve it. It didn't. The turning point came one Sunday morning at church. He felt the sudden urge while sitting in the back pew. He stood up quickly, hoping to make it in time. But halfway down the aisle, he didn't. No one said anything. No one had to. The look on his face said it all. Norbert never went back to that church. From that moment on, he started rearranging his life to avoid embarrassment. He declined dinner invitations, stopped walking to the diner, and even skipped his beloved afternoon walks with his neighbor's dog. He started timing his meals, limiting how much he drank during the day. He was terrified of another accident, not the mess, but the shame. And slowly, without realizing it, Norbert became a prisoner in his own home. Incontinence isn't just about the bladder. It's about dignity. It's about feeling safe in your own body. And for many seniors, it's the first thing they begin to lose without ever saying a word. What made it worse for Norbert wasn't the incident itself, it was the silence afterward. He didn't know what to do. He felt alone. Ashamed. Like he'd crossed an invisible line that couldn't be uncrossed. But here's the truth most people don't hear: this problem is more common than you think. And more importantly, it's manageable. Let's talk about the fix. First, bladder training. Norbert didn't realize that you can actually retrain your bladder. Simple time voiding, where you go to the bathroom every 2 to 3 hours, even if you don't feel the urge, can help regulate the urgency signals. Over time, this reduces accidents and builds confidence. Second, smart hydration. Many seniors cut down on fluids, thinking it'll help. But that often backfires. Dehydration irritates the bladder and increases urgency. Norbert learned to spread his water intake evenly throughout the day and stop fluids 2 hours before bedtime. That changed everything. Third, hygiene that respects your dignity. Bidet attachments, modern pull-on briefs, and moisture-wicking pads aren't embarrassing, they're empowering. These tools helped Norbert feel clean, comfortable, and in control again. And just as importantly, they removed the fear of judgment that kept him homebound. Incontinence doesn't have to mean isolation. It doesn't have to mean giving up your routines or your favorite spots around town. It just means adjusting, with compassion and the right tools. Because for Norbert, it wasn't the accident that broke him, it was the silence that followed. The creeping belief that he had lost control of something vital and personal. But once he found the right approach, that belief slowly faded. And so did the fear. Have you or someone you love struggled with this, whether personally or quietly in the background? Drop a tip, a resource, or a kind word in the comments. Your voice might give someone else the confidence to face it head on. Because the path to independence doesn't start with ignoring the problem, it starts with talking about it. Reason 2, the silent decline in mobility. Norbert Clay had always moved with purpose. He used to joke that his legs were built by years of chasing loose shingles and stubborn raccoons off roofs. He wasn't a gym guy, but he was active. Until he wasn't. It didn't happen overnight. It never does. At first, he avoided the stairs. Said his knees were just a little cranky in the morning. Then he stopped walking to the mailbox, telling himself it wasn't worth it if the weather wasn't perfect. Eventually, even his daily stroll to the back shed became optional. He still felt steady, he just didn't feel motivated. But every time Norbert chose the easy route, his legs quietly took note. The muscles that once powered him up ladders began to fade. His stride shortened. His sense of balance got just a little off. And he didn't notice it. Not until the morning he reached for a pan in the kitchen and stumbled. It wasn't a dramatic fall, just a loss of footing. But as he sat on the floor, dazed, one terrifying thought echoed in his head. When was the last time I stood on one leg? It had been over a year. And that's the part no one talks about. The danger isn't just falling. It's the slowing down, the gradual erosion of strength, balance, and confidence. It sneaks in under the radar. One less trip outside. One more hour on the couch. And then suddenly, what used to be easy becomes risky. For Norbert, this was a wake-up call. Not just because he had to call someone to help him up, but because he finally realized how fragile his independence had become. Not because of age, but because of inactivity. But the story doesn't end there. Here's the fix, and it's simpler than most people think. Start with a 2-minute daily leg strengthening routine. Norbert began with heel raises while brushing his teeth. Then slow sit to stands from his favorite chair. 2 minutes a day. That's it. It wasn't about workouts, it was about movement with purpose. Next, he started using furniture creatively to rebuild his stability. Holding onto the back of a sturdy chair while practicing standing on one leg. Side steps along the hallway, steadying himself with the wall. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Then came his favorite addition, a balance station right in the living room. Just a yoga mat, a firm chair, and a mirror. It gave him a place to practice gently and safely. And every time he used it, it reminded him, I'm doing something for me. The biggest shift wasn't physical. It was emotional. Norbert stopped thinking of himself as too old to improve. He realized that decline isn't an age problem, it's an activity problem. And once he gave his body the chance to strengthen again, it responded. Because here's the truth, he didn't trip over clutter. He tripped over the years he spent sitting still. Mobility isn't something you lose in a single moment. It's something that fades quietly, until a single misstep exposes how far you've drifted. Don't wait for that moment. Strength and balance can be rebuilt. They just need a little daily attention, on your terms, in your space, with simple tools you already have. And if this reason feels urgent, wait until you hear the third one. Because while loss of movement is physical, the next reason is far more subtle, and more heartbreaking. It doesn't weaken your muscles or your bones. It weakens something even more essential. Stay with us, this next part pushes more seniors into nursing homes than falls, pain, or even memory loss. Reason 3, the emotional abandonment no one talks about. Norbert Clay was never the type to ask for attention. Even after his wife, Lorna, passed away 3 winters ago, he told everyone he was managing just fine. He made his own meals, kept the lawn trimmed, and even organized his workshop better than most 40-year-olds. But inside, something was shifting. At first, the house just felt too quiet. The kind of quiet that creeps in during dinner. That thick silence when you laugh at something and there's no one to laugh with. That slow ache of not having anyone to tell about the little things, like a funny memory, or a weird bird he saw near the shed. His kids called when they could. Maybe once a week. Sometimes less. They had families, deadlines, appointments. Norbert understood. He never blamed them. But he started answering the phone a little less. Not because he didn't want to talk, but because it felt worse when the call ended. And it wasn't just about phone calls. The neighbors waved from their porches. The mailman said hi. But few came up the walk anymore. The old coffee group at the diner had slowly faded after 2 members passed away. The world, it seemed, was moving on, without him. That's the part no one prepares you for. Not the creaky knees or the misplaced keys. But the emotional abandonment. The feeling of becoming invisible. And here's the heartbreaking truth. Norbert didn't move into assisted living because he needed help bathing, or couldn't remember to take his pills. He moved because he couldn't remember the last time someone really saw him. And when no one looks your way, staying in your home doesn't feel like independence anymore. It feels like exile. But this is where everything can change. Because the fix isn't just possible, it's deeply human. Start with small connection rituals. Norbert began setting a timer every Sunday afternoon to call his granddaughter. At first, it was short, 5 minutes. Then 10. Then she started calling him. Those moments became sacred. He also started sharing one old photo every week with a neighbor, just slipping it into their mailbox with a short note about the memory behind it. That one simple gesture led to conversations. Then to coffee. Then to a porch book club. He joined a virtual volunteer program where he read stories to kids online once a week. Suddenly, Norbert wasn't just occupied, he was needed. That mattered more than anyone realized. And the most important shift? He stopped waiting. He stopped hoping others would remember to reach out. He built his own web of connection, one email, one hello, one memory at a time. Because the truth is, we don't age out of needing to matter. We don't age out of needing laughter, warmth, a reason to get up and get dressed. Norbert didn't need a facility. He needed to be seen. To matter. And you know what? That decision, to reconnect, to take one small action, was more powerful than any prescription. So if you're watching this and feel that slow fade creeping into your days, ask yourself, what's one way I can reach out today? What's one spark I can light, not just for others, but for myself? What's one way you stay connected, even when life gets quiet? Drop your tip in the comments. You never know who it might help. One message, one gesture, one moment of being seen can be the thing that keeps someone home, happy, and whole. Norbert Clay didn't transform his life with one big decision. He did it with a series of small, quiet wins, each one a choice to stay in charge of his own story. He stopped seeing the bathroom as a battleground and reclaimed his dignity there first. No more skipping meals out of fear. No more shame in asking for tools that helped. Just simple adjustments, timed hydration, easy-to-use briefs, a bidet he installed himself, that gave him back a sense of control. Not perfection. Control. That alone restored part of his pride. Next came his legs, once strong from ladders and lumber, now being rebuilt one careful movement at a time. Norbert didn't join a gym or hire a trainer. He just started moving again. Daily. Purposefully. 2 minutes of strength. A few balance drills. He even turned on music from the 60s and marched in place during commercial breaks. The stiffness faded. His step got lighter. The day he walked to the mailbox and back without holding the railing? He grinned like he'd just climbed Everest. But maybe the most powerful shift came not in his body, but in his spirit. He reconnected. Norbert stopped waiting for the world to notice him. He reached out. He shared stories. Made weekly calls. Found new ways to be useful and to feel known. That human spark, the one that dims quietly when we go too long without real connection, came roaring back. Not from grand gestures, but from choosing to be present, visible, and involved in ways that mattered to him. He didn't become someone new. He remembered who he still was. And that's the part we forget. You don't age into a nursing home all at once. You drift there, quietly, slowly, often without realizing it. A little less strength. A little more silence. A few too many skip steps. But here's the truth most people won't say out loud: you can fight for your independence. You can protect it. Rebuild it. Not with willpower alone, but with simple, consistent, meaningful action. It's not about doing it all, it's about doing something, today. Because the moment you decide to stand up, reach out, and take back one piece of your life, you're no longer drifting. You're choosing. And that choice? It's where real aging well begins. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of someone you care about, don't keep it to yourself, share it with them today. Sometimes, just one message can spark hope and change in a life that feels like it's slipping away. Before you go, please hit that like button to let us know this message matters to you. Leave a comment below. Your thoughts, your stories, your ideas can inspire others and create a community where we all support each other. And don't forget to subscribe to Better Aging Advice. We bring you practical, uplifting guidance every week to help you stay informed, confident, and in control of your own journey. Remember, you have more power than you realize. Aging doesn't mean giving up, it means adapting, growing, and choosing how your story unfolds. Let's keep moving forward, learning, and thriving, together.